Get up. Get moving. Watch it. Yeah. No, can you grind your soul, huh? Can you grind your soul? Yes, that's what we're about. We're about can you in your soul. Just get up, dance. Put together your favorite drink. Alcohol, non-alcohol, whatever you prefer. It's your choice. Get up, dance. You don't have to live this whole time. Go back and forth. Back. Right. To the left. Right. To the left. Right. To the left. Yeah, do all that stuff because we're about to entertain you. Give you some great information. So you make sure you tune in and all that good stuff. So, the song that I'm sampling today is by James SPR. I'll make sure to tag it in the social media. So, now you guys are all up. Now you guys are all dancing. All right, perfect. So, welcome to episode 13 of Real Talk with Coach Q and
Broker Wes.
All right. Now, before we get started with the show, we got some house tips for you guys. First and foremost, make sure you click that subscribe button because you want to stay here. You want to be here. Show your love and support for these two beautiful brothers, right? So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also, you want to make sure you know when we drop those new videos, right? So you want to make sure you hit that notification bell. So now I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for you guys to do that. All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking the time to do that. All right, perfect. So before we get started on the show, we'd like to do a quick introduction to the first time watchers. My name is Kierrerealestate. I am a realtor, which means I get to help people with their real estate needs, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And I'm also a coach. That's why I go by Coach Q. I get the opportunity to coach agents to help them build successful real estate businesses. And it's something that I love to do. And now I'm going to let Wes share and explain what he does. So, Mr. Broker Wes, share with the millions of people out there what you do.
Hey everybody, it's Wes, y'all. And I am the money man, the mortgage wizard, the breaker of financial chains, the bringer of rain. And I'm here to help you understand your options for financing property and making it work all together for your overall financial picture.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we're all about getting those financial pictures. We always want a nice financial picture. So I love that. Now, very first thing that we like to start with after our introductions, we like to go over success tips because Wes and I truly believe in reading books, following our mentors, and really growing ourselves. And that's definitely something we want to do. So today I'm going to share with you a message from one of my mentors, John Maxwell. And he was talking about the philosophy of being busy. Now, I don't know about you. When you ask a person, how are things going? Most of the time, people say they're busy, right? And we always equate busyness to being productive. But that's a fallacy, right? Because just because you're busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're productive. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to look at your calendar. I want you to look at your schedule. And let me start with, first and foremost, you need to have a calendar. You need to have a schedule, right? So make sure you put one of those together. Once you put that together, I want you to look at your schedule. And I want you to highlight productive activity, money-making activity, because that's what's going to be important when it comes to your schedule, when it comes to your calendar, right? You want to focus on the priority. Now, obviously, with Wes and I, we're in the real estate business, we're in the real estate industry. So one of our priorities is to generate business, right? So on our calendars, when it comes to lead generation, that's a priority on our list. Uh, Printing out paperwork, going on Facebook, or maybe posting, that's maybe not a priority, right? That's something that we do, yes, but it's not a priority. A priority would be more of reaching out to people as well as following up with people, right? Those would be the priority tasks. So when you look at your calendar, I want you guys to look at what activities that you do bring you money, because that's what it comes down to, right? So you want to focus on your priorities first, and then that tedious busyness work, you do that after. But the very first thing is focus on the priorities. All right. Now, Wes, anything else you want to talk about or explain more about that, setting up your time schedule for success?
Yeah, so I was always taught don't mistake activity for achievement.
Absolutely.
So we all have 24 hours in a day. We're all dealing with only 24 hours in a day. Some of us may sleep more, some of us may sleep less. But the bottom line is, in whatever industry you're in and whatever job you do, there are going to be particular activities that really make the money, that really bring the results. And you have to have the awareness to understand what things or what activities actually bring the results and what activities feel good and feel like you're doing something, but they're not building your business, they're not bringing the results. So because you only have so many hours in the day, it's important that you realize the difference between the two and make sure you're focused on the things that generate income and create, whatever results you're talking about. I know, for people in our industry, the vast majority of us, it's eat what you kill. You're on
Right.
100% commission. So if you don't close a deal, if you don't bring in business, you're not making money. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. So that is something that we have to be hyper focused on in what we do, and you should as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now we want to move on to our next topic, the main event. In today's main event, we want to talk about how to be competitive in a competitive market. So I'm going to allow Wes to explain a little more about being competitive in a competitive market.
Yeah. So the inspiration for this particular topic for me was something I experienced actually this week. So I had another realtor that I work with that has a listing, and they wanted me to do what we call a cross qualification on all the offers. Now, for those listening that don't know what that means that for me, I'm getting particular documents from the loan officer representing the buyer that's making the offer, so I can review their work basically and make sure they did it right, they crossed their T's, dotted their I's, so that the listing agent and the seller don't go into a transaction with someone who's not qualified to buy that home. So there, a few basic documents that I request in order to go through the cross qualification process. And you would be surprised how many of the loan officers either A, did not have the documents readily available that I was asking for, or B, were offended by the fact that I was even asking for them. Now, it's a very competitive market. And for me right now, the way the market is and the way I look at it when you have to go through a cross qualification process, which by the way, I have to do on behalf of my buyers too sometimes. For me, it's the quick and the dead. Okay. It's the quick and the dead. And I know this from experience because there are times when I'm cross qualifying offers for a realtor, the loan officer takes so long to get the documents in, they're already in escrow. They've already reviewed the offers, they've already accepted an offer, they've moved on, and they've cost their buyer the potential to be able to get that home. So in a hyper competitive market, it's always a good time to remind yourself, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, we're not getting our offer accepted, or we can't get the offer accepted, or, it's just too competitive for us. Nah, you have to find a way to make yourself more competitive. And you have to cross all the T's and dot all the I's ahead of time. So your loan officer, by the way, I had loan officers sending me documents that were literally 2 months old, income documents. It's like, man, anything could have happened in the last 2 months, you know? So you have to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best possible position and that the team that you work with is also doing the same to make sure that you're competitive in a competitive market. Because everyone, and what I've realized this week, because there was probably about 10 offers that I was asked to cross qualify, and 2 out of the 10 came through prepared. 2.
Wow.
So you're no longer competing with 10 people. You're really competing with one other person if you're the other person that was ready. And I don't know about you, I like my odds if you tell me I got a 50% chance of being the one that's selected, I like that a lot better than you telling me I got a 10% chance. So you have to find ways to be competitive. That's one way. Make sure your professionals that you're working with have everything ready. Make sure you're giving them up-to-date documents. Make sure you're giving them accurate information. And this also goes for people who are putting their homes on the market.
Mhm.
You know, prep the home. Do the best you can to prep the home. Get it cleaned up. If you need to upgrade some things, do it. Go find a handyman. Because again, it's a competitive market right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And just to touch on that a little bit too about being competitive. Now, one of the things I do, when it comes to work with my buyer clients, I always want to make sure I reach out to the listing agent. And for me, I don't want to have to go back and forth when it comes to counter offers, right? So my objective is to get as much information as I can from the listing agent. What's your client looking for? Not just in price, but also in terms, right? Do they need a 15-day escrow? Do they need a 30-day, 45-day, 60-day escrow? What do they need? Do they need a rent back? Is there any type of work that needs to be done in the house? Is there any type of work they're looking to complete? Right? What about appraising the home? I go through the whole gambit. I actually have a checklist of the items that I cover, when I actually call the listing agents to get, as much information as I can. And, working with Wes, I mean, we've definitely been able to help several of our buyers get their offers accepted in this competitive market. And Wes needs to say number 11 now. I just sent him an offer of one of my listings for him to cross qualify. So that's number 11 for you, Wes, this week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely, having a great team is definitely important, and also, all of these that Wes shared, is very important to of how you can really be competitive in this competitive market. And if you are a buyer out there, and you're looking to buy a home, or if you're a seller out there, definitely looking to sell, definitely feel free to reach out to us, because like I said, Wes works with me with my buyer clients, but Wes also works with me with my seller clients because he cross qualifies all the offers. And lenders get upset with them. I mean, realtors get upset with me when I ask for that. But at the end of the day, what's most important to us is the person that we choose to go into escrow with. We are confident that they're going to be able to close. Because let me tell you, it's not fun having that conversation with your client 17, almost 21 days into escrow to let them know, oh, the buyer can't perform, right? It's not fun to have that conversation. So for us, we're okay with upsetting some lenders and some realtors as long as our clients are protected and secured and can close their transaction confidently. That's what's most important to us. All right, now we move on to hot topics. Hot topics. So today's hot topic is putting on the rents. So what's that mean, man? Putting on the rents?
Well,
Elaborate.
well, I decided, we've been talking a lot about how competitive the purchase market is and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so people tend to think that the rental market is somewhere where they can hide out until eventually they decide to buy a home. And many times when people discuss the rental market, they discuss it as if, there are no factors over there that they have to deal with that make things harder as well. Right.
Right? Like
Like,
as though they don't know prices are going up, right? Like they're just so
right.
not in the market.
Exactly. So one of the things that came across my timeline the other day that I noticed that caught my attention really quickly. Whoops, accidentally muted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that came across my desk that really surprised me is that rents are up 6.6 for the year, 6.6% for the year
When you say
on single
rents are
family
up six
residents.
point six, you mean like there's more people that are renting? Is
No,
up
the
that?
cost,
The
the cost,
cost.
money,
Okay,
money,
so
money,
the
money.
cost of rent has gone up 6.6% average. Wow.
Right,
Okay, that's a lot.
6.6.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's four times the 2020 amount.
Wow.
And, the amount of growth in 2020, it's four times that amount. And it's the largest amount or increase since 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I always tell you, you and I have this conversation. One of the biggest things I loved about the idea of being a homeowner is simply this. If I have a 30-year fixed mortgage and my mortgage payment, let's say hypothetically, is $2,000 a month, starting right now, 2021. I have some tricky questions for you, Kier. It's going to be some really hard math, but I want you
All
to
right,
work
I'm
with
gonna
me.
try. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
Grab a
try.
calculator if you have to.
All right, got one.
Okay. Now, in 2026, year 2026, how much is my mortgage going to be?
All right, we said 30 years, right? So if I'm
Yep.
doing 30 years, 2026, you're still in that 30-year period. So I would say still $2,000.
Okay. And in the year 2036, what's my mortgage payment going to be?
Okay. Again, you're still within that 30-year fixed time frame that you've got. So you're still at $2,000.
Okay. And then here's the really tough question. In the year 2051, okay, 30 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
what's my mortgage payment going to be?
If you never refinance, you would be at goose egg. You would be at zero because that time you would have paid off your 30-year mortgage.
Right. Now, one of the things we know that happens with rent every single year when your rent contract expires, what's your landlord or property manager likely to do?
Increase it.
Exactly. Why? Because the cost of living goes up every year. So yeah, you're going to be paying more. That is one of my favorite things about being a homeowner is the stability of your mortgage payment.
Yeah, and that's huge when you say stability, right? Because that's a constant number that you know that you're going to have to deal with at
Right.
least for 30 years, right? Obviously, some people pay it off sooner, right? But at least you know that as opposed to things could change year after year, right? Or
Right.
sometimes even less than that, just depending on your contract, right? So absolutely, stability is huge, and I feel that that's definitely what people look for. People look for stability, and with home ownership, that's what it gives you. It gives you that level of stability.
Right. Now, another thing that I noticed, and I didn't even know this was a thing, and it really surprised me, there's a what they call a market tightness index for
Okay,
rentals. I'd never heard of that before.
neither have I. It's
But
first time.
yeah, and what it is, it's a measurement basically of the competitiveness of the rental market and, you know, the difficulty in finding quality rentals.
Mhm.
So that number went from 81 to 96. So apparently, it's not just competitive for buying a home right now, it's pretty competitive for renting one too.
Wow, that's crazy. 96%.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, yeah. And then, so lastly, something important is going to happen by month's end, and that's regarding rents. So, we had a national eviction ban throughout the pandemic, where we basically had a moratorium on being able to evict people who couldn't afford their rent. Well, July 31st is the last day of that. So less than 10 days from now. Now, I want to I want to basically put a qualifier in there because depending on where you are, not only locally as far as your city or county, but as well as your state, they may have other things in place, or they may have a different policy in place other than the national one. But this is the national one. So that ban is going to be lifted by the end of this month, which is less than 10 days away. So that's something important. So basically, um, you have 16% of all renters who are not caught up. That's
You said
11 million people.
16 or 60?
16,
16, 1 6.
1 6.
Oh, okay.
So that's 11 million renters who are still not caught up. So that's a large number. Now, currently, there is an emergency rental assistance program in place, and that's for you can go onto the National Low Income Housing Coalition website, and it'll tell you about the different programs and how you get access to them. So to qualify, you have to have at least one member of your family on unemployment, or you have to attest that you've lost income in writing for since 2020, and you cannot exceed 80% of the area median income for 2020 to be able to have access to that. Now, if you do get access to it, you could get up to 18 months, which is a mix for back due rent and future rents.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way you can protect yourself after the national ban is lifted, you really have to be aware and know what your rights are according to your states and local areas.
Right.
Because as always, as it always does happen, you always are going to have people that are ready to take advantage of people and ready to basically just put you in a bad position for their bottom line. So I'm sure there are, owners, landlords, property managers. Some of them are probably licking their chops for July 31st and, ready to make some moves and whatnot. So you have to protect yourself and know what's out there for you, and also know what they can and cannot do legally. And definitely check out some of those resources if you're somebody who is currently renting that needs help.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thank you for sharing. All right. Now we move on to a market report. So in this market report, Wes is going to give us more information about the new thing. I mean, this isn't COVID-19. It actually happens to be called the Delta variant. And this is like, I guess, like the second coming of COVID-19. I guess it's like some type of uh, changing of the previous COVID-19, some type of like mutation or something. I think that's how they describe the Delta variant. So Wes is going to talk about how the Delta variant has affected the markets, whether it's a real estate, job market, and so forth. So, Wes, what's going on with that Delta variant, man? Affecting all our markets.
So basically there are some indications, financial indications that kind of let you know based on what investors are doing and whatnot, how they're feeling and the confidence about where the economy is going in light of the new Delta variant. And so what the Delta variant is, it is a mutation of the original COVID-19, which is, it is a variant that is a lot more transmissible than the original COVID-19.
Right.
Okay, so COVID-19 already came out with the remix. It already dropped the remix for 2021. It's called the Delta variant. So some of the things that they're noticing is that consumers are now kind of cutting demand. So they're kind of cutting back on what they're spending. That's one area that they're looking at. Number two, repatriating US dollars. So people are kind of bringing US dollars back and investing more in US currency as opposed to other forms of currency.
So like that is another, like crypto or like gold, silver.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned gold, silver, because that's another sign, and we'll get to it in just a second, that, people are kind of worried about things cooling off. So what it means as far as like repatriating, it just means you're investing more in the US dollar, right? So number three, people are investing more in defensive stocks like utilities as opposed to growth stocks like technology.
Right.
So they're starting to notice that with investors as well. Falling yields on the US dollar compared to other currencies. So that's another kind of warning sign. And then commodity trades on things like gold and copper have fallen. They've gone down 10%. So that's another sign. And then lastly, investor sentiments, they kind of do an investor, they kind of do a survey to see what investors, how they're feeling about the market and where it's going. And they're concerned about it. And part of the reason why is because China, which is kind of ahead of us in what's happening, especially with the Delta variant, their numbers are starting to cool off. So investors here are looking at what's going on there and saying, well, if that's happening there, we haven't got there yet, that means we're going there.
Right.
And so that's why it's cool. And so that's where we are with the, the financial aspect of, the impact of the Delta variant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Now we move on to City Spotlight. So this week's City Spotlight is the beautiful city of Garden Grove. Yes. Wes, this is where you bought your first house, right? In Garden Grove?
It is.
It is, it is, it is. Well, let me give you some stats about the city of Garden Grove. Wes does the fun stuff. I do like the number stuff. We thought we could change it because Wes is tired of doing numbers all the time because, he's a lender. He's the money man. So I thought I'd take that burden off him. So you're welcome.
Right.
So Garden Grove was established in 1874 by a man named Alonzo Cook. Currently on the real estate market, there's about 50 active properties available for sale in the city of Garden Grove. Now, if you've been watching us with our city spotlights, 50 is actually one of the largest numbers that we've seen active in the city of Orange County. Now, average price in Garden Grove is about $721,000. Again, this is definitely a smaller number than we've seen amongst other cities in Orange County. So, for you first-time home buyers out there, Garden Grove could definitely be a good place for you. Average days of market for the city in Garden Grove is 30 days, and I believe that's by far the largest that we've shared within cities of Orange County. Again, this can be a good place for you to go if you are a first-time home buyer, or if you're maybe looking to negotiate. Garden Grove could be your spot. And the average income in the city of Garden Grove is about $68,000, and I believe that's probably relatively one of the lowest in terms of the average income that we've seen from other cities in Orange County. So yes, I just want to share that information on Garden Grove, and I'll let Wes share some fun stuff that you can do in the city of Garden Grove.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to start with this. Garden Grove is a very near and dear city to my heart because it's where I bought my first property, and I lived there, I think, like 5 or 6 years. Funny story, when the real estate agent took me out the first time to look for properties, they were putting together a list and getting ready to go, and they said, what areas are you interested in? And my response was, anywhere but Garden Grove. And I always share that story with my clients to remind them, always keep an open mind and be flexible when it comes to, looking and purchasing property, because a lot of times you have preconceived notions and things like that. And by the way, the area where I bought my property was an area I've never really seen in Garden Grove. Growing up in Santa Ana, I've really only seen like the Santa Ana Garden Grove border. And I just thought it was like Santa Ana's kind of uglier twin. So but yeah, so fun things to do. So let's start here. I know you're going to love this one, Kier, because I know you were romantic at heart.
I sure am. Sure am. Ask my wife.
So they have a romance book club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see. They also have a summer culture series. So it's a 3-day festival where they celebrate the cultures of first day is Asian Pacific Islander, next day is Black, and then last day is Latino and Hispanic. So that's cool. Yeah. They have a free outdoor movie series.
Oh, gotta give a cheer for that one. That's what we've been doing, man. This whole pandemic, this is our life. We're actually doing a movie in the park this evening, actually. And then we're gonna see Raya and the Last Dragon. So yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Okay. They also have a free summer concert series.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of those.
Now, the area I lived on, it was right near, like I could literally walk down to Old Town Garden Grove. So in that area, I know on the weekends they have kind of a car show, like classic car show / farmer's market. Then they also have a tree lighting ceremony. They have Winterfest. They have a Korean festival. And then last but not least, the thing that most of you are probably familiar with, which is the Strawberry Festival.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've done that. We've done that a lot of times, so we definitely enjoy that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like basically my backyard. I mean, I could see out my window and see everything that's going on at the Strawberry Festival. Then they have many, many great schools to go through to go to. I think they have somewhere like 7 or 8 high schools and many, many intermediate schools and elementary schools as well.
Yeah. So let's give it up for City of Garden Grove. And if you guys have any questions about the City Garden Grove, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in City Garden Grove, definitely feel free to reach out to us because we know Garden Grove. In fact, Broker Wes lived in Garden Grove, so he is an expert. And I definitely have to make sure to put that on my calendar for that international food event.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Growing up in Orange County, having the opportunity to really grow up in a melting pot in terms of cultures, it's definitely given us an opportunity to try all types of food. So I'm totally down for that. So I'll make sure to put that on my calendar next time because yeah, we love to try food. We love food. I'm like a
Oh
foodie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, by the way, they're going to hold off the Strawberry Festival until next year, so it'll be back next year.
Oh. Nah, we get it. We get it. Yeah. Okay. So until next year, we'll see that. All right. Perfect. Now we move on to one of my favorite segments of the show, the Wes Files. All right. So, dudes, doctors don't operate on themselves. Why would you? Seriously, doctors don't operate on themselves, so why would you? So I'm gonna let Wes explain where we got that message from. So Wes, where did we get that message from?
Yeah. So where I came up with that was I was thinking about one of my experiences where I had a client that, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, our clients want to be their own experts. So they want to hire the expert and then they also want to be the expert. And the problem with being the expert is in what we do in the industry we operate in most industries, as a matter of fact, you can't be an expert by putting in a Google search and reading a couple articles,
Yeah, this works.
right? You can't do it. And we all understand there are a lot of different anecdotes about people trying to represent themselves and do their own thing. So, as you just pointed out, doctors don't operate on themselves. Then we all know, or we've all heard, that the attorney, or what's the saying? The attorney who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of an old riddle about the barbershop. Someone walks into a barbershop, one barber has a really bad haircut, the other one has a really great haircut, and they said, which one would you choose and why? The answer is you choose the one with the bad haircut. Why? Because he doesn't cut his own hair. The barber with the good haircut cut his hair, and the barber with the bad haircut cut his hair. That's how you do it. So, yeah, so in what we do a lot of the times, especially on my end, you're being bombarded with so much information and so many different messages about what's going on with the financial markets, what's going on with bonds, what's going on with interest rates, all kinds of things. And that's okay to read that stuff and to read up on it and try to get information on it. But what you should really be doing is leaning on the expert that you've hired to represent you to bring it all together and provide context. Because so many times I'll have a client say, "Hey, I heard the bonds are doing well. That means rates went down, right?" Maybe, but you never can tell. You have to just see what the market is doing. Or I'll hear a different situation where they're like, "Hey, I heard this thing happened. The Fed cut the rate, right? They cut the Fed rate. Rates are going down, right?" Maybe you have to see. But sometimes what these people don't realize is the market is about anticipation a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. So like in the instance where the Fed cuts rates, right? A lot of the times they already know the Fed is going to cut the rate. So it's already baked into the cake. So like, a week before they cut the rate, you might see rates go down in anticipation of the Fed cutting the rate. And then when the Fed cuts the rate, they're like, okay, we knew, nothing changes. So the importance of this is in the particular case of my client, unfortunately, it costs them a lot of money. And the reason it costs them a lot of money is because, I'm someone who watches the market every day by day, by week, by week, by month, by year, right? So I can see the trends and recognize the trends and what direction we're headed in. And sometimes we hit a really, really good day. It's an anomaly. We hit a really good day out of nowhere. And I might tell someone, you should lock the rate today. But what happens a lot of times is that person says, you know what? I'm going to let it ride. Because if it was this good today, how good might it be tomorrow? Right? And then you end up in a situation where you're kind of negotiating against yourself. So this particular client, they had this great rate. They were going to get like $1,000 credit from the lender for that rate for closing costs. I advised that they lock the rate. They said, no, let's ride it. Next day, rate goes up. Now the rate cost $400. I still advise they should lock the rate at that point at a cost of $400. No, let's wait and see if it comes back the next day. Next day, the rate is now $3,000.
Wow.
A $3,000 cost.
Jeez. What a big difference they made.
Huge difference, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then what ends up happening is you end up in what we call a sunk cost trap for you economic majors out there. And what that means is you basically, and we all understand it through the eyes of a gambler, right? When we go to Vegas, you win $500, but then you lose $7, and now you're trying to win back the $5 plus the $7. Then you lose another $2,000. Now you're trying to win it all back again until eventually you lose all your money because you just can't deal with the opportunity cost and the opportunity lost. So long story short, rely on the people that you hire that have the expertise and the knowledge to help you make those decisions. After all, I would hope that you hire them for their expertise, for their knowledge, and because you trust them. And if you think that what you've learned on Google puts you in a better position to understand what's going on than the person who's been doing it for fill in the blank, a year, 2 years, 3, whatever, then you should hire someone else, period. Because that means you don't trust that person's guidance. And for whatever reason, maybe you don't respect them, maybe you don't trust their track record, whatever it is, it's going to cost you money. We have to be a team. We have to be on the same page for me to get the best results for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Be on the same page, people. If I'm on page 1, you can't be on page 12. And it doesn't make sense. We gotta be on the same page. I like that. Good job. Like doctors don't operate themselves. Why would you? It sums it up right there. All right, now we move on to in the news. So in the news, what's been happening in the news, Wes?
Okay, let's start here. So Jeff Bezos has had a pretty big week. Not to be outdone by our topic of conversation last week, Richard Branson. He decided to go ahead and take a spacecraft into space.
I mean, hey, man, if that other billionaire's doing it, why can't I? Why can't I?
So, yeah, he did it. And thankfully, it was a successful trip. That's really cool. Yeah. And then secondly, he decided to create what he calls the Courage and Civility Award. And this first go around, he gifted $100 million each to Van Jones and Jose Andres. And it's for them to be able to donate to charities and foundations as they see fit.
That's great. I like that.
Yeah. So I guess he was just so excited upon getting back to from space, he decided to give out money. Or was he lightheaded and not in his right mind from being so high up in the clouds?
I don't know. Did Richard Branson do that when he came down?
No, he didn't give nobody anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also, they started the advanced child tax credits, so people are starting to receive checks this week. The way it works, if you have children under the age of 6, you get $300 per month, and I guess it's supposed to go on for the next 6 months. If your children are between the age of 6 to 17, then you get $250 per month for the next 6 months. So there's that. So if you got your check, that's great. Spend some of it on your kids, though. Come on, y'all. Spend some of it on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, lastly, in the sports world, I believe the opening ceremonies of the Summer Olympics were last night in Tokyo. Yeah, so I cannot wait to watch my favorite events and, of course, keep track of the medals.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to it.
And congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks, who won their second title in 40 years.
Yeah.
Everybody can't be Lakers, man. That's all. It's okay. But they won their second title in 40 years. And just like the first time they won it, they did it with a center basically leading the way. The first time, of course, that center was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this time it was Giannis Antetokounmpo. Try saying that 5 times fast. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, he is also the series MVP or finals MVP. So congratulations to him. And you want to talk about like just something happening with the smallest percentage of a possibility of it happening. I mean, it's bigger than winning the lottery. Get this. So now, not only did all 3 brothers make it to the NBA, all 3 of them are now NBA champions.
Oh, wow.
So the Antetokounmpo brothers are all NBA champions. One of them won last year with the Lakers. The other 2 won this year with the Bucks.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah. And I'm saddened that CP3 didn't get his opportunity, but come on to the Lakers. We got room. Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Come on, CP3.
Yes, we wanted him back then, and we still want him to this day. So that would be great to see that. That would be great to see that. So, yeah, man. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to catching some, definitely events for the Olympics. Other ones, I definitely will have them TiVoed and all that good stuff. And also, if you guys have Alexa out there, you can actually ask Alexa, about the Olympics. Ask her about the medal count. You know what I mean? She'll actually be able to give you updates on that as well. So yeah, you can also do that too, or you just go online and look at them, or look at your phone, whichever you prefer. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We totally enjoy it, and yeah, definitely make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you guys are always notified when we drop our videos.
Like and share as well.
Yes, like and share as well. Share it with someone you love, that you appreciate, and all that good stuff. And until then, guys, see you on the next episode.